Hello everyone, welcome to the 7th International Uşak Short Film Festival. I'm Saran, a member of the festival and also pre-jury last year. Today I'm very happy to welcome Brandon Lee Hickey to talk about his film Everything Bagel, which is selected for the official screening. Hello Brandon, how are you? How do you feel?
I'm good, thanks. I'm excited to talk about the movie, and your festival seems really cool, so I'm glad to screen here. It's awesome.
And thanks to you. We loved your film very much. It's really something else, something very different and very refreshing. And I have questions lined up for you. But before I start, would you like to tell a bit about yourself for our viewers?
Sure. I'm from Seattle, in Washington, in the States, and my favorite food is banana. I like bananas. Those are good. And I think that's the only important things that you need to know about me. Those are the two.
Okay, Seattle and banana, noted.
Yeah, yeah, that's all. That's all there is.
All right. So, again, for our viewers, I'm going to very shortly talk about the synopsis of your film. Everything
Sure.
Bagel is about following a devastating breakup and subsequent musical stagnation. A record store employee searches for a path forward in the days leading up to one of her band Everything Bagel's show. Uh, it's very colorful. The characters are almost out of like Dazed and Confused film.
Hmm.
The set is very well told. The attention to detail is amazing. Sometimes I just stop the film just to look at the details in the background because it moves so quickly. I just want to immerse myself in
Yeah.
your picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
that's really nice.
it's clearly that you are so involved in this kind of culture because everything is so spot on. I wanted to start by asking how you started to develop this film. What was the first thing? The idea came up or the script came up? What happened there?
Yeah, I think you're right on the money in acknowledging that this is like pretty true to my real life. Yeah, I was just a lot of my social life in high school and a lot of how I would spend my time was just like through playing shows and through going to friends shows. And I thought this was the last film I made before I went to university. So my thinking was I wanted to make a film about my sort of like experiences in high school and also sort of as like to encapsulate it in time, like that this was a specific moment of my life and that I wanted to make a film about what my life was like in high school so that as I moved on and uh, went off, because I went to school in New York across the country, and
Hmm.
so I wanted to make a film that like encapsulated Seattle in a very specific time and place, sort of how it existed in my mind, even if it's not the real city, just so it felt almost more like a memory, if that makes
Hmm.
any sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I also watched your other film, Distinct Properties of the Indonesian Frog. Loved it,
Yeah.
by the way. I loved it
Okay,
very
cool.
much.
I'm so glad. That
And
one
like
is
British too. Yeah.
that one's a lot. I tried to go a little more out there with that one. Everything Bagel, there's like some surreal stuff in there, but it's also pretty similar to like a normal teen movie in some ways.
Yeah.
But Tree Frogs, we were like, let's try and do something like really that feels very new, and try to do something that was like I don't know, that maybe not everybody would like. So it's cool that you liked it because, it's definitely weird. It's out there.
It's so quirky. I loved it very
Yeah,
much. But also
I'm
in the
so
same
glad.
time, it's a teenager film, of course, but you don't understand what time you're exactly at. It's not 70s, not 80s, not 2020s. It's just something, a parallel universe somewhere else.
Yep. Yeah. That's very, I think you're right on the money there. And I think that's exactly what the intention was. Uh, I really like that in movies you can just you could do anything, right?
Hmm.
And the fact that most movies are like well, this is the world as it already is. We're just filming things. I kind of think that that's a bit of a bummer because you can make whatever world you want to live in. And so for me, it's two reasons that we really wanted to do that. One is I really wanted to create a world that felt like cool and cozy and that I thought was aesthetically interesting. And the second reason is that there's so many like allusions and like things that are similar to famous like high school movies in the past that we wanted it to feel almost like a timeless like one of those. Like you mentioned Dazed and Confused as an example. Like the idea that there's so many great high school or teen movies that have taken place like in 60s, 70s, 80s, all these things. We wanted to like almost pay homage to all of them to create this sort of like almost fantasy land that the characters live in. So yeah, that was important to us that we treated like that aesthetically.
So can I say this if I'm not wrong? Your perception of cinema is more about creating your own universe who also feels safe in it as you do. Because that's what I felt when I was watching it. And
Yes.
I wanted more. Anything you produce, I just want more. You know what I mean?
That's so great. I'm so glad to hear that. I think that's totally right. I think the best way I can describe it is cinema. It's not real life, and it can be true to real life, and it can relate to people, and it can relate to real experiences. But at the end of the day, everybody's trying to make movies that are true to real life and are not acknowledging that it's a movie, and a lot of my favorite movies and a lot of the things that really respond to me, there's a certain acknowledgement of the artifice in a way. And that's a lot of times manifests in like production design or, like somebody who's really good is like David Lynch. Like David Lynch is not trying to make real life, but it's still relevant to people's real life. And I think it's not, better or worse, but it's something that's just more interesting to me to do, Yeah.
So you mentioned production design. Are you on it solely yourself, or do you have a great team behind you as well?
Yeah, I tend to handle a lot of the design stuff myself, and I try and delegate when I can. If I'm doing a movie that's not strictly like a period piece or like Tree Frogs, which is more like straight up, surreal fantasy, right? Like Everything Bagel is reality adjacent in a way. Then I'll get somebody to do costumes because, especially with something like Everything Bagel with a lot of female leads, right? When you're doing something with no budget, right? It's going to be a lot easier to just get a friend of mine who's a girl who has really good fashion to do it than to try and figure out something that I have no experience with, which is dressing, and having good fashion as a girl. So that makes a lot more sense, right? But something like production design, as much as every movie that you make is not going to be for everybody or everybody's idea of a good movie, at the end of the day, you do know the movie the best. If you wrote the movie and you're directing it, then nobody has a better idea of what it looks like than you. And so I like doing production design a lot because I know what the movie looks like, right? And there is no better way to immerse somebody in something and also let them know that this is not supposed to be taken as real life than to create a world through the props and the locations. So it's actually one of my favorite parts of the process is figuring that part out. Because once you know that, then this is what it's going to look like. I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, you're in control, and it's very obvious because everything is so elaborate, and I feel like you are a perfectionist. Uh,
Yeah, a little bit. Yes, yeah,
it
definitely.
shows on your films.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to do that when you don't have any money because
Hmm.
uh, you're getting like one or two takes, maybe, and also you want to create a world and you don't want to pay any money for it, and those
Yeah.
things are contrasting. So one day, if 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 there's money involved, then I can be a perfectionist. Right now, I have to settle for trying really hard and being disappointed every time. You
Okay.
know.
Fun. I also saw that you work with the same DOP for your two films, Elliot
Yeah.
Atkinson. I
Yes.
also checked his other works. It's also very clear that he has a lovely visual world, and you two coming together with your this very elaborate mind about to care about the production and the background and his frame. When these two come together, apparently it produces what we see on your films, and it looks very beautiful.
Yeah. He is amazing. He's one of the best people I've ever worked with, and the thing that's really really amazing about him, and I think which will serve him really well, going forward making films, is that he just loves movies so much.
Hmm.
Like there's people I know who just being on set is their favorite thing in the world, and that's totally him. He watches so many movies, and he always is excited to work and excited to put in those extra hours to really make it perfect and to really care about the technical and the aesthetic elements, because he really believes at the end of the day that the most important thing is just making a really good movie.
Hmm.
And I know that probably might sound obvious that everybody wants that, but actually it's not always that easy. People, they want something to be good, but they don't want to put in the work. And I'm a pretty lazy person actually in most
Come
things
on.
that are not film. Film is an exception, but
Hmm.
he's a hard worker, and so that's why I think we are a really good collaboration, because I want to put in all this extra crazy time to make this good. But a lot of times when you're not making anything with a budget and you're just asking your friends, it's hard to find people who are just really passionate. And he is like top of the list in that regard. So he's probably my closest. Him and then Peter Brown, who I
Hmm.
co-wrote Distinct Properties with, and he worked on a lot of my stuff, are probably my two closest collaborators. I like working with both of them like immensely. I think they're awesome.
That's so great because you keep talking about no budget, but then you, I think, feel this void with so much passion and this hard work that you said that you're not. But when you're so passionate about, maybe it doesn't feel like it's hard work because you just want to perfect it, in my opinion. And looking at you at the very early stage of your career, you already established a very strong aesthetic and a very strong language. And I wonder if there's a milestone you want to achieve, or is it more about experimenting on the way?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Uh, I think like recently I came to the idea of the most important thing is just making really good work, because I'm always going to be doing this, whether or not money's involved or whether or not I have to have a day job. I'm always going to be doing this. And I've realized that whether or not that leads anywhere, like he talks about milestones, whether or not that leads anywhere, I'm going to be happy doing this if I feel proud of like the things I'm making, and if I think that they are good, and I think that they're creative, and that they're not, um, like that I'm proud of them, right? So obviously there's milestones that I'd really love, like I'd love
Hmm.
to, um, you know, do a major festival circuit, you know, and do a lot of times, sometimes I get the vibe that people are like, oh, this is really good for a student film. And I'd rather just like hear, this is really good. And I don't know if I'm quite at like, you know, professional level yet. So like a good milestone I think would be, you know, I don't know, like a major festival circuit. But at the end of the day, I guess what I'm trying to say is the most important thing, and I think that's the thing that's the most productive to me making films, is the best reward being it being really good. Because I'm very, very, you probably picked up on this just from looking at it, but I'm very, very self-critical of my stuff. And it's very hard for me to be like, this is good. And so that's the ever elusive goal, is to make something that really, I'm like, this is a good movie. So that's the biggest goalpost, I guess. I don't know if that made any sense, but
it makes total sense, because the biggest challenge is yourself. The biggest milestone is again yourself. Because each time you produce something, that will be your best, and then you want to beat it again and then again and again. And I think that's how great directors, or great anything, any sector, any professional in their field becomes good at what they do. And again, it's all about the passion, I think, and you're filled with it. It's so exciting to see you, actually. So may I ask if there are next projects? Are you already planning?
Yeah, I'm doing another movie in January, but up in the air, because, you know, I don't know what the situation is where you're living, but, you know, in the States, the COVID situation is still very intense. So a lot of, you know, other factors that contribute to whether or not we'll be able to film. And then, you know, a lot of scripts just sitting around because they're sort of piling up, because I have a lot of time. And I'd love to, because I was going to school in New York my freshman year. And then this happened, like, end of my freshman year of university. And I've been back in Seattle since March. So I have a lot of films that I want to make in New York that are specific to shooting it in that city. And so that's a bit tough, because I have these scripts that I feel are like really, really, you know, strong comparatively to what I've done. And I just kind of have to sit on those. But right now the idea is just make as many shorts as I can until I feel confident enough in my abilities to try and do something bigger. But I still think that's a couple years away. So yeah, up next, just trying to keep making as much as I possibly can, and hopefully get back to New York to do those scripts. And yeah.
Well, I can't wait for more to watch, and I'm sure I will be hearing, and everyone will be hearing your name quite a lot in the upcoming years.
Well, you have been definitely the most. I've done a couple of these Q&As, and you've definitely seemed to have a really good handle on the film, which I was not to say surprised, but I was just like, oh, she really got it. That's what it is. So no, this was super cool. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Because like I told you, it's such a refresher to see these kind of films. And then when I checked you out, I was amazed, like, wow, he only shot 2 films already, and they are just perfect, you know. And thank you for enlarging our vision as viewers. I'm sure everyone will love it at the festival. Thank you so much for your time, Brandon. Is there anything you would like to add?
No, I hope people enjoy the movie. And I think I've never seen it in a theater, which is a real bummer because of the virus. So maybe when this is all over, I'll be in film festivals with people able to check it out. But I hope people enjoy it. I guess that's my message.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, and hope to see you one day.
For sure. Absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.